In the past 4 years, today's guest has gone from reality show champion to bona fide Broadway star. She's appeared on Broadway in Grease, South Pacific, Anything Goes, and now she's shaking up her image as Bonnie Parker in the new musical Bonnie and Clyde. Please welcome Laura Osnes. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Paul.
How are you?
I'm really
so
good.
Thrilled you're here.
Thank
You're one of my favorite people.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I feel like you know a lot of people. That's a big honor. Thank you.
The minute I first met you was right after you won the Grease show, and you did a little pressing at Sardi's, and you just I immediately liked you. And I like you even more because you came with cookies. You're the first guest on this show who arrived with baked goods.
Wow, thanks.
And these are actually baked by Laura Osnes.
I made them yesterday.
And I sampled one, and they're amazing.
Thank you.
But I would expect nothing less from you.
I do like to bake, so it's just for fun for you for Thanksgiving.
How's it going? You're in Bonnie and Clyde. You've been working on this show for a few years. This is your third production of it.
Yep.
You've done readings, and you've
Absolutely.
sort of lived with this woman.
Exactly, for the last 3.5 years, and it's been really rewarding. Oh my gosh, to see it actually on Broadway now, and it's been worth the investment. You know what I mean? It's like we've gone out of town twice, and I've left the city for it, and I've turned down other jobs for it because I loved the show and I believed in it and I loved the role, and now it's happening. So it's really fulfilling and just so amazing. I'm pinching myself every day. I can't believe that it's actually happening.
So Bonnie Parker, obviously a legendary woman. I was surprised when I saw the show. I loved you in the show, and I was surprised I didn't realize how many photographs there were of her.
Yeah. She always wanted to be famous. She wanted to have her name in lights and be in the movies and be on Broadway, and she spent all her money when she was 15 to get a glamour shot picture taken of herself, which this is the Depression. You could spend your money on food or you could spend your money on a glamour shot, and she chose a glamour shot. And she was always really obsessed with that and wanted fame, and she ended up getting it. Not, I don't think the way that she planned, but she got it. And they did have a camera, and they took a lot of pictures on the road.
Right, and they left them places.
Yeah, because they were always on the run. They always had to leave their places so quickly that the camera was not the first thing that they grabbed. And that's how the cops eventually ended up getting them, was finding their images and following their pictures and realizing where they had been and all that stuff.
One of the things I loved about the show was how you see the real life photographs, and you guys sort of interact almost with the photographs. Like you'll see you get your mug shot, and then there she is
Absolutely.
behind you.
I think it's really neat to tell the story in that way, because the movie didn't necessarily do that,
Right.
and we're trying to be as historically accurate as possible with our telling of Bonnie and Clyde, and we kind of get to reenact some of the photo moments, and then they're projected up on the screen, and you get to see the real life people. I think it reminds the audience too that this was actual history. It really happened, and these were real people who went through this. And with the mugshots and everything, it's really cool. And there are a few times we try to reenact specifically like poses from some of the shots. And one of my costumes, actually 2 or 3 of my costumes are designed specifically based on photos that Tobin Ost, our
the one in the ad campaign, that dress.
Right, exactly, the chevron dress they call it.
Okay, yeah, you get to see the real Bonnie. You wear it better, but she wore it pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah, no, she has so I get some cute clothes. It's fun, and the tam hats, the berets are.
Do you like doing something where you can really research? And did you really dig into these stories? And there's a lot written about her.
There is so much research, and our book writer Ivan actually gave me his library of books that he used. Now that the show is like off and running, he's read like every book based on them, and so I have a little section in my dressing room of all the Bonnie and Clyde books, and I have read probably 3 or 4 books and seen a couple documentaries and looked at things online and the pictures and all that stuff. But yeah, it's great to be playing someone who actually existed and try to pay homage to that person. And yes, I'm getting to create a character, which is so exciting, but basing it on a real person is really helpful, and I think really, really amazing to get to actually play someone that really lived.
Can you relate to that sort of the young girl reading, that you see her reading like the Hollywood magazines and wanting to be a star? Can you relate to that? Was Laura growing up in Minnesota like that?
I was never into like magazine movies, but I more had my eye on the Broadway scene actually. And yes, I had every soundtrack and looked at every picture and and like playbill. I started collecting playbills when I was young, and I have like a 5-book collection now. Like it's so funny.
So who were you obsessed with? Because now you work with some of these people. Like
Oh
these
yeah.
people,
Oh yeah, like Sutton Foster.
I remember you telling me years ago that Sutton Foster was like one of your idols.
Absolutely.
And now she's just, Sutton from Anything
My
Goes.
friend Sutton.
Yeah.
No, she's amazing, and I still look up to her, and I'm still in awe of her, obviously. Like Susan Egan, I listen to Beauty and the Beast a lot, and Linda Eder, and I was that girl, and I loved writing poetry. I love creative writing, and Bonnie, we use all of her real poems in the show. People don't know that she was a poet.
I had no idea.
And we use all of her actual poems in the show, which is really cool. So yeah, there's definitely things I can relate to in her, not the murderous killing side, but.
Well, if you were listening to Linda Eder, then you clearly were listening to Frank Wildhorn music.
Yeah, it was actually amazing when I first met Frank. I went in to audition for Wonderland, of all things, like 3 years ago. And he said, I think you're a little too young for Alice at this point, but have this other musical that you might be really right for.
Wow.
And that's kind of how I transitioned into doing the readings of Bonnie and Clyde.
Wow, okay.
I was like, this is Frank Wildhorn, and now we're, again, like chums. He texts me, like, thanks, Frank.
So do you think, I think this is one of Frank's best scores, I think. Do you think Frank gets a bad rap? I mean, I think he has a hard time people taking him seriously, or the critics, or I don't know. What's your take on that?
I mean, I don't want to say a bad word about him because he can write a good tune, and he has had a lot of success.
Yeah.
I think the thing with him is that he's had his hand in so many projects that some have been great, some have been not so great, and people remember the not so great, unfortunately, better than they do the great. And I think it seems to be the general consensus with Bonnie and Clyde that people love the music, and the buzz is good so far.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that it's a redeeming show for him, because I think he deserves it. The music in this show is amazing, and I never get sick of it. I love singing it every day, and it's people are already asking, when's the soundtrack coming out? Are you making an album? And so
they are making an album, so
we are.
There will be an album. Yeah, you have a lot of beautiful songs. Do you have any sort of favorite moments right now, or does that change over time?
Yeah, I think it kind of changes, but I mean, I love How About a Dance. That's kind of become like my theme song, I think, over the last 3 or 4 years. I already had a friend that was at Telsey like a few weeks ago, and they were like, Laura, I'm at an audition, and some girl's singing How About a Dance at the audition, and I suddenly got possessive, and I was like, wait, that's my song. And then I'm like, well, I gotta get used to it. You know what I mean? If the album's gonna come out and this is gonna be a successful show, then obviously the songs are gonna become well known. But I love How About a Dance, and that kind of moment. I think that's the moment where Clyde and Bonnie really kind of click and fall in love.
Do you feel like this is an opportunity to show a sexier, darker side?
Yes. I've kind of become known on Broadway as the sweet, innocent ingenue, because obviously Sandy, Nellie, and Hope are all naive and young and innocent for the most part. Hope had 5 hours in the back of a cab, but you know. Okay, but yeah, with Bonnie, it's just a completely different color that I get to play and I get to show, and even the voice that I'm using, my big belt voice, which I haven't really gotten to use that much either, because all the musicals I've done have been revivals, and they're more classically sung. I mean, Sandy I got to have a little bit of flair in that final scene, but this is sexy Sandy the whole way through as Bonnie. And it's great to get to play something deeper too, like people getting shot and being hungry and having no money. It's it's grown-up problems of the Depression, not high school problems. So it's exciting to get to show a completely different side of.
So Laura offstage, is there a dark side to Laura offstage? Because you seem like a pretty sweet girl to me.
There's not really a dark Bonnie side of me. I mean,
You're just a really good actress.
I'm sure I have my moments. Well, thank you. No,
what's the darkest? I'm gonna eat a Laura Osnes cookie.
I love it on camera.
You can have one as well.
All right.
Have you ever done anything mean or anything dark? Or?
I mean, I'm sure I have. I have to say, I'm sure I have. I feel really bad that I actually can't think of one right now, because I'm not perfect. I'm really not, and I'm not that great of a person. Okay. But I'm not.
Did you ever pretend like you were on the phone to avoid talking to somebody? Like on the street, like pretend like you're on your cell phone? That happens, right? That's not that mean.
I snuck out the stage door when I was sick, and then there was a person that came like 2 days later, and they were like, Laura, we missed you on Saturday, and I was so upset. And I was like, I'm really sorry, I was sick. I was like vocal resting at the stage door talking to people. And she was like, oh, okay. But she's like, I was so upset. I'm glad you came out tonight. It's hard because people, I mean, you want to, obviously, you want to be gracious with people, but they come to expect that coming out the stage door and signing is a part of the gig. And in a way, it is.
So the meanest thing you've ever done is maybe not sign an autograph.
That and talking on the phone to avoid talking to people. I've probably told little lies here and there too.
Little lies, little white lies. Yeah. Everyone does.
Fortunately, everyone does, right?
Have you ever heard of Hybristophilia? I just learned about Hybristophilia. Bonnie and Clyde syndrome.
No.
It's something called Bonnie and Clyde syndrome, and it means being sexually attracted to like outlaws.
Oh, wow. There's an actual title for that?
I feel like this musical is going to encourage hybristophilia.
I think it probably is. Hybristophilia. I gotta like
because
write that
you guys
one
are
down.
really hot on stage, and you are clothed. I'm not going to say you're naked, but you show off a lot of your body. All the pants on all the men are very tight. There's a lot of things going on.
Sure.
So, do you feel like you're smoking up the stage, smoking up Broadway?
It sounds really like conceited, but yes, it does, and I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
So that's obviously with the press photos and the they're definitely, it's written that way to be that way because Bonnie and Clyde were passionately in love with each other. So again, we're trying to be as truthful as we can to the telling of their story, and but yeah, it is a sexy show, and I'm in slips a lot and under things, and the boys all look great and sexy in their suits or lack thereof, and that was kind of sexy, was being outlaws. They became famous for bad reasons, but they still were like kind of glorified in their day.
Hybristophilia.
Like 10,000 people came to their funeral to see their shot up bodies. Like, it's disgusting actually, but that's who they were and that's what they became.
So this is a natural moment to ask you about your abs.
Oh my gosh.
Because when your abs made their appearance in the show, wow! You have like amazing like Hollywood abs. Like, so let's talk about this. So how'd you do it? Come on, help everyone.
I'm kind of embarrassed.
Is this natural?
There's like
is this just your
like
body?
one person a day that asks me about it, and I'm like, is it distress? Like, I honestly don't try that hard. I guess I plank for like a minute a day.
Okay.
And that's actually been my routine for the last like year and a half since I had to show my stomach in South Pacific. I wore a bikini then too on stage.
Right.
I started this plank regimen.
So explain what that is.
Oh,
and you can do it if you want.
No, I'll describe it. It's you balance on your elbows and your feet on the floor and you plank and you clench your core and it's supposed to strengthen your core, and I did it.
It's working.
Thank you.
Your core looks very strong.
And I guess that's kind of it. Started doing it South Pacific, and then we did it in Bonnie and Clyde out of town, and then I worked it into the Anything Goes routine. My dressing roommate Jessica Stone and I planked every day. During Anything Goes, while Sutton was singing and tapping, we were planking downstairs. And now Jeremy and I do it before that scene. How about a dance? We plank backstage together. So it just has become the routine, and I thank you.
Well, you look incredible.
Thank you.
I actually found an old interview with you from Broadway.com where you talked about how your Christian beliefs and moral background makes it hard. You said like you wouldn't have wanted to do hair. You auditioned for hair,
right?
And you would have never been able to do nudity,
right?
But does that come and play in this? Or I mean, obviously you're covered, but you're very sexy. I mean, it's very overtly sexy.
Right. There is a fine line for me, and there was a point where, actually in La Jolla, where there was a point where it seemed that Jeff was talking about doing a scene this certain way. They wanted a bedroom scene and whatever, and I wrote him an email. This is so like revealing right now.
Right.
I wrote him an email, and I was just honest, and I said, just so you know, these are things that I wouldn't be comfortable with, and I won't want to do this, and I don't think it's necessary. And I kind of said, like, if my family came to see it, I know they would be offended. Again, that's my family, but we're in La Jolla. There are a lot of conservative retirees here too. And so I put that out there, and he wrote back and was so sweet and understanding, and he said, Laura, I would never ask you to do anything that you would feel uncomfortable with. I want to make sure you feel completely comfortable and safe and, up there. So that totally gained my respect and trust of Jeff. There are things I don't think I could do. And everything in Bonnie and Clyde kind of either rides the line that I feel just comfortable enough with.
Does your family like it?
They
Does
do,
your family like the
actually.
show?
My dad and stepmom flew out and surprised me for my birthday and
wow.
saw it on Saturday night, and they loved it. They were very proud.
So
But I was a little like, all right, Dad, like, get ready. This is not, I mean, I'm kind of a daddy's girl. I'm a little, you know, and I was like, I gave him a little warning. And Jeremy said too, he was like, I apologized to your dad before the show started, just so we could get that clear.
Yeah, there's a lot of making out, a little humping. I mean, it's sexy. It's sexy.
Yeah.
I mean, these characters clearly are attracted to each other.
Yeah.
So how is that with Jeremy? I mean, I know you're a married lady.
And he's an engaged man.
He's an engaged man.
But yeah, no, it's been unbelievably respectful, the whole thing. He's been such a gentleman about everything. And when he's in that scene in the tub, everyone's always like, oh, is he? And yes, he is, but there's this like bubble blanket where he's completely covered.
Oh, he is naked? Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't even know that. There's a bubble blanket.
There's a bubble blanket. He's completely of bubbles and foam. So he's completely covered, and he always gets in first, and I wait till he's settled till I get in. I've never seen a thing. Like it's very
Never see a thing or the thing.
Right, both. And it's all been done very tastefully and very respectfully, and we've come to just trust each other so much, and we're great friends. We've become great friends through the whole thing. So we have a lot of fun, but it's always very professional. And
everyone on Broadway wants to make out with you because let's see, Max Crumb got to kiss you, and Paulo Zot,
Dreamy.
you got to kiss him. And
Colin
Donnell. Yeah, you have quite a laundry list of your leading men.
I've
Any
been
favorites?
so lucky. I cannot pick
You want
a
to rank
favorite.
them?
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's real hard. Oh my gosh, they are all on so many different levels.
And
It's
you
really
have
great.
An adorable husband named Nathan. Well, I guess you call him Nate, right? Nate.
Yeah.
Nate
I always
Johnson.
introduce him as Nathan, but I call him Nate.
Okay. Well, how does he take all this? I mean, he just basically sits in the audience and watches you make out in every show.
He's amazing. He's been such a rock for me. I just am so grateful to be married through this whole thing because I don't have to like worry about it. Everyone knows I'm taken. And so it's awesome to get to come home to him every night. I know that it's not, just to be honest, I know it's not like easy for him to watch it every night. It wouldn't be. It's not like, oh yay, my wife's making out with all these guys. I know that's not the case, but he's been tremendously understanding, and he and I actually met doing a show together. We understudied
Aladdin.
the leads, yes, and we went on together, and our first kiss was on stage. And I remember everyone asking me after that, because everyone could see that we were like totally had a thing for each other, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, how was the kiss? Was it amazing? And I said, it was business. So he knows that even with him, my future husband, that it was business. Even this guy I really kind of had a thing for. It was business on stage. So, you know, I take it very seriously, and he's the one I come home to every night, and obviously he comes first.
He's become a really good photographer, and I know that he shot the sexy shots of you and Jeremy for the ad campaign for Bonnie and Clyde. I know he's doing all the photography for the show.
Yeah.
So he actually, while you were, you know, cuddling up to Jeremy, he was taking the pictures.
And he even said, like, the first thing he said that day was, like, we were in costume, like, getting ready for the first, like, pose, and he came up to us and was like, Jeremy, you have your hands all over her. This is, like, you know, you need to do your thing today. Like, don't be... You know, he even put a disclaimer out for Jeremy so he didn't feel uncomfortable.
Don't censor yourself.
Yeah.
Make out with my wife.
So, obviously,
I need a good shot.
And that day actually was really fun. It was really actually fun to have my husband involved in the show in that way.
Yeah.
And like whenever people talk to me and rave about the pictures, like, oh my gosh, you guys look so great in the picture. I love the shot. And I always turn it to him and I go, oh, my husband took it.
Yeah.
And so it's neat to have him be involved that way and to get to, you know, rave and praise him in the midst of the whole process. I'm really proud of him. It's been a great experience.
It occurred to me today, I loved you on the Grease reality. Grease, you're the one that I want on NBC. And you know, it was easy to pick you out from the beginning.
Wow.
Small town Sandy, even
Small
though you
town
weren't really
Sandy.
from a small town.
Right.
Everything in the Midwest is not small.
That's right.
You won that, and it occurred to me that you're probably like one of the most successful reality. I think you're one of the biggest successes out of a reality show because the point was to find a Broadway star, and look at you, you become a Broadway star. I think it's Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood, and Laura Osnes.
Wow.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, it's been incredible how it's really parlayed into this career.
Yeah. I almost sound like I'm crying thinking about, because I I mean, I went into that reality show with a hope and a dream that, yes, Broadway has always been my dream, and I don't think I would have done it if the prize wasn't a lead in a Broadway show. You know, I've never really wanted to do American Idol or do that sort of thing. I think I did it because the prize was a Broadway show.
Yeah.
And when I won, I did take it very seriously. I tried to establish a good reputation. I never called out sick. I got an agent midway through and started auditioning for the next thing, and fortunately have been able to have pretty steady work here on, you know, from there on out. And when I booked South Pacific, I was just floored. That kind of was the point where I was like, okay, thank you for kind of taking me seriously and giving me a chance at this well-respected show, amazing role, filling the shoes of Kelly O'Hara, who I saw in Light in the Piazza 5 years before when I was nobody, you know, a little girl looking up to a Broadway star.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that I got to replace her in a show at Lincoln Center. Like, it just has been really star-studded. Just kind of twinkle-eyed the whole last 4 years. I just feel so blessed and so fortunate that
so you still
my path
have that?
has laid out the way that it has.
You still have that energy? Is it still all sort of exciting? You haven't become jaded by this industry, or?
I mean, no, not yet. To now, the next best step, it's every actress's dream to get to originate a role, and being a part of Bonnie Clyde for the last 3 years and seeing it come to fruition. It's just, that doesn't happen. That does not happen to people. And it's been absolutely incredible. I'm so thankful and so grateful, and yeah, it still seems unreal.
The reality of Broadway has lived up to the dream you had.
Yeah, it has. And in a way it's become, I think I've grown up with it. In a way it's become a job. Yes, there's things about it that become very much a job, and my lifestyle kind of revolves around that. Like, I have to take good care of myself and all that stuff, but yeah, it's what I've always wanted to do and where I've always wanted to be. And I still, when I walk through Times Square, it's crazy, and I'm like trying to get to work, and I'm like, get out of my way. But then there are also days where I look up and I go, this is Times Square. I live here. I'm on Broadway. There's my billboard in Times Square. Like, it doesn't seem real. But it has definitely lived up to everything. There's something kind of magical about Broadway.
Well, I've always been a fan, and I'm always rooting for you, and I want to just keep seeing the path keep going for you. And you're wonderful in the show, and everyone should check out Bonnie and Clyde at the Schoenfeld Theater.
Please do.
And thank you so much for coming.
Oh,
so great to see you.
Thank you so much. So great. Thanks.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.